Get him off. Get him off.
We're in the lab, and we're gonna make sure this happens as soon as possible.
Welcome to an episode of the Sports Genes Into the Lab podcast, where sports analysts and experts dissect the latest news from the NBA and NFL, giving you a unique view on some of the hottest topics around your favorite teams. From the fresh field smells of the NFL to the hardwood courts of the NBA, and possibly your comfy couch for your fantasy football team. Let's see what kind of news the lab is working with today. Here's your host from the Sports Analytics Headquarters in San Antonio, Texas, Ernest Silva.
Well, it's been a minute. It has been a minute. Season 5, episode 41 in the beautiful Into the Lab movie studio in San Antonio, Texas. I'm your host, Ernest Silva. Read 'em and weep to all y'all who thought we were out. We are not out. We are back. Hashtag what's in your DNA. The sport gene is live and proud. It's been a couple of weeks. We have had the plague at the Silva household and just been some bad timing. Joining us today, as always, Chris Connor with the Last Call podcast. What's up, brother?
Not much, and we started a little bit late because of my fault. I was watching the Celtics, 2 games now. Halliburton's out for possibly game 3, so I apologize to everybody. But hey, I gotta watch the Celtics because we might actually win the whole thing this year. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but it's looking good so far.
You are the favorites. You are definitely the favorites. Celtics have the experience. I love it. You don't even have Kristaps playing. You guys are looking great. Very excited for what's happening. Are you guys what's the hype meter for Boston right now? Are you guys like 60% believing it's yours, or are you guys higher than that right now?
There's some people higher, some people lower. I mean, Minnesota's starting to get me a little bit nervous because all of a sudden Anthony Edwards, you're looking going, oh crap, this little guy has balls. He could actually will that team to the whole thing. And then if Dallas gets in, it's like, oh crap, the ghost of Kyrie comes back. God damn him. But people are, as long as they don't, screw up, they should win this. They are the best team talent-wise from 1 to 7, in a left in the whole thing.
Completely agree. I'll tell you what, the Steve, the General Reisner, and everybody else I know, Boston fans, definitely looking a lot like this.
Give me a hell yeah.
And it's all about it. All about the hype. Good luck to the Celtics fans. I expect when the Rockets are in the same place in 5 years or so, hopefully less, you guys are doing the same for us. We have a short, sweet, and fun episode today. Chris Connor, we're going to talk America's team today. We're going to talk Cowboys. Cowboys schedule release within the last 2 weeks. We are going to talk about what our predictions are, early on predictions are for those Dallas Cowboys. But before we talk that, and we talk about the main meat and potatoes of today's conversation, we are going to talk about the hype. Chris Connor, I have to ask you, are you buying the hype? NCAA 25 has released its trailer. It's released the gameplay footage. People are starting to test it. The hype seems to be through the charts. Are you believing it?
I'll say this. It's a bit weird because usually it's like, all right, you played the games, and they always like, oh yeah, it's this player, but they never had like detailed. Now with the NIL, now with everything, it's just sort of like, oh wow, this is. It looks good. I mean, EA Sports has done a whole thing. And I gotta say, you must be peacocking because
Man.
Quinn Ewers on the cover of game. So already you're like, yep, Texas quarterback representing. I can feel you peacocking around, going, this is a sign of things to come. National championship, Texas Longhorns.
I mean, you brought it up first, right? Like, well, you brought it up first. So obviously excited about Quinn Ewers being on the cover. I'm hoping there's no like curse, right? Like, I hope it doesn't hit us. There's 3 players on there. I'm hoping it's not yours. We are all, I'm going to speak for all Longhorn fans that we are not like completely bought in. The Ewers hype. Manning is definitely on 50% of the minds on who they want at quarterback this year, even after coming off a stellar playoff appearance season like the Longhorns did last season. There are a lot of fans and a lot of analysts that are worried about the Ewers Manning battle. And does Manning stay if he doesn't start? So you and I talked a little off show, just talk a little bit about what the hype, what the meter is on Ewers versus Manning, even here into the lab. And it is still 50-50 for me. Ewers has to win to stay in. And so we'll have to see the hype. A lot of turnover for players that left. We saw a lot of the receivers go. The running backs are gone. The line has a bit of turnover. So we'll have to see if Texas really does keep that hype. And the defense can be, pretty stout against a very tough schedule next year. But anyways, back to the original question, NCAA 25, take my money. I was basically, when this first was called out, I was like, where do I sign up? And when I went to go look, if you're not familiar with the different options you have the NCAA 25 regular edition, which, hey, no problem, right? Go get that if it's your first time playing. If you're young enough where you never got to play the originals, you're gonna love it. Go ahead and do the whole dynasty build. Go be a lower team and recruit and build your pipeline. It's awesome. Or you can get the deluxe edition, which is just a little bit more, right? It takes a little bit more money from you, Chris Connor. Don't be upset, right? But you know what really got me? Where I was just screaming,
Easy money!
it was the combo package of NCAA 25 and Madden 25 deluxe editions, both for $150. You get a discount on both, $75 each. Sold all day. Getting that, I highly recommend it. You get all the perks. You get to pick your teams too because you do this package deal. So you can pick your Dallas Cowboys, you can pick your Texas Longhorns, do some crazy connections. I'm really excited. Chris Connor, I haven't seen this excitement across different blogs about connecting games. You can connect your NCAA game to your Madden game. I mean, it's been 15 years. It's been forever. I am hyped. Chris Connor, last for you. Based off the gameplay, based off the previews, where's your hype meter on a scale of 1 to 10?
Probably a 6, but then again, I don't play video games. I'll say this: the graphics are all out. They've done a great job. I mean, I'm just watching the EA game footage, and it looks almost like you're watching, the TV games, the TV football games themselves. I mean, the DKR Stadium. You're looking at the fans. All of a sudden, it's like, wait a minute, are these real fans? Are they fake? I mean, they go full out. So, look, credit to EA Games. They knocked it out of the park. People are gonna buy it no matter what. I mean, unless there's more glitches than like one of those old 80s VCR tapes where all of a sudden stops, cuts out stuff. People will buy this for $69 to anywhere between $125 without even watching the trailers. They're just gonna go, yeah, shut up. Here's our money. Take our money.
Take it. Take our money. You already got my money. So it's a sad shame, but it's already gone. You may not know this. He's a man behind the scenes, but Mark Guajardo is the guy behind our videos, edits our features, does our TikTok reels, just kind of all over the place. Shout out, Mark, if you are watching. Appreciate you, my man. You are awesome. I can't wait to have you up here in San Antonio, different parts of the weekend. We're celebrating some birthdays this weekend. Excited to have you in town and shoot some ITL promos. But what's great about Mark is that his Dallas Stars are still dancing. And I told him as we transitioned to talk Dallas Cowboys, we better talk Dallas Stars. I think the last I saw they were trailing in their game today. But Mark's promo videos are always hype. So let's roll that as we transition and talk some Dallas Cowboys football and what that win-loss projection is in Vegas and why we think you will make some money this year if you watch today's show. First off, though, some Dallas Stars. Let's hype it up. Mark, good job on the video. Let's let the world see it.
Looking at the moves over the offseason, this might be the best Stars team we've seen in the last decade or so.
It's a roster filled with veterans. The urgency right now to win is at an all-time high.
But I don't think we've ever had this optimism, since 98, 99, 2000.
I sense a bit of a swagger, a sense of belief. I mean, there are strengths all over the place with this team now.
We know what the belief is from top to bottom in here, and it's, that we can win a Stanley Cup this year.
The last team standing, the only stat they care about is wins and winning the cup. It's not power play time or ice time or goals or assists or save percentage. Okay, it's wins. That's the only thing that matters.
Has help. Robertson, his shot, he scores!
Marvelous vintage Pavelski.
What a save!
They're on their feet. Dallas Stars smell blood. Their mantra this season seems to be trample the weak and hurdle the dead.
Stars are scorching hot.
For start to a season, special for so many different reasons, but tonight feels even heightened for the Stars.
There's a lot to like when you look up and down this Stars team.
What a start to the season.
Everything he touches turns to goals. Sagan on the board yet again.
Perhaps Duchesne is the secret sauce that they needed. Marchman snaps it home.
They're the highest scoring team in the league.
Good chance it comes down to goaltending in a 7-game series.
That is insane. What a save! Henderson, shot, save! In the final seconds of overtime. Harley ahead, sprung Duchesne, he scores!
These videos are so good, Chris Connor. It's not even a joke anymore. Shout out to you, Mark. Shout out to you. Good luck to your Stars. But it's time. It's time to talk Dallas Cowboys schedule. That's what you're here for. If you saw the headline, that's what you're here for, to see where your money should be. Round one, Dallas Cowboys win-loss predictions. I'm going to take this off so you can see the full screen. All right, Chris. We may differ on opinion on some of these games. I completely admit we are going to differ on some of these, but let's run through it. If you're watching today, you're interested to see, are the Dallas Cowboys true? Is the hype real? Or are the rumors there, right? Is it Dak's last season? Is it Mike McCarthy last season? What are they doing? It's going to be very interesting to see how we run through this today, but we are here for it. All right. Here is the number coming out of Vegas, and it's not pretty, right? You and I have both agreed, even on your show, that the win-loss record for the Dallas Cowboys probably should be down a bit, and it is. It is. So the number we're chasing here is 9.5. 9.5 is the Cowboys win-loss in Vegas right now today. And Dan and Isaac making an appearance there. Love the family. Any other city that Stars would be the talk of the count. Sadly, they're behind the Cowboys, Mavs, Rangers, and Scheffler. It's just very true. Go Dallas Stars, though. Appreciate the support. Appreciate you watching, Danny. All right. Here we go. Chris Connor. Dallas Cowboys traveled to Cleveland in week 1. It is a primetime game, possibly game of the week. Probably is game of the week. Brady on the mic. Who do you have in that game?
Cowboys. I can't trust Deshaun Watson fully yet. I mean, you want to say the Browns will figure it out, but I mean, how much does Deshaun Watson have left? So right now I'm going with the Cowboys because the quarterback.
All right, through week 1, then we have the Cowboys at 1-0 to start off the year. Not crazy. I have the Cowboys winning that game as well. The Cleveland Browns are stacked. Just don't know how Deshaun does come out of the gate. I worry about traveling to Cleveland, playing against that defense. Against an offensive line, especially on the left side, that's going to struggle with some of the green of some of the players and shifting around. We'll have to see how Dallas plays preseason, how they look. I've got to trust, though, that the vets carry. Depending on what happens with Brandon Cooks, I still lean Dak in the offense in that situation, in that game. And I'll take McCarthy and Dak in that game to win week number 1. Week 2, though, gets interesting, and I have a feeling we're going to differ here. Dallas then is going to play at home, and New Orleans comes to Dallas here against the Saints. 12 o'clock game, week 2. Chris Connor, I'll start this one off. Dallas doesn't lose home openers, and they haven't lost home openers consistently since the 2017 timeframe. I'm going to take Dallas to start 2-0 this year and start to make some of the haters kind of go into their shell a bit, even though it's probably a cupcake way of starting the season. What about you?
I have them also going 2-0. I, once again, trust the quarterback. Derek Carr, that's in that offensive line for Saints is also having a lot of problems. They're going to be starting possibly a rookie tackle. So, yeah, go with the Cowboys.
All right, so if you're watching, you're tuning in for the first time, Dallas Cowboys 2-0 to start the season here on ITL. Win-loss number to chase, 9.5, given by Vegas. And this is when we get to another primetime slot against the Baltimore Ravens, in which we finally are going to see them play at home against what's potentially going to be one of those Super Bowl title contenders for the year. And Baltimore with Derrick Henry and the lean machine Lamar Jackson coming to town. And I will let you start this one off, Chris Connor. How do you see Dallas faring against the Baltimore Ravens?
Dallas 14. Baltimore Ravens 45. This is going to be an ass whooping. I'm calling it right now. This is going to be an ass whooping. This is going to be where Ernest Silva and the Cowboy fans are waving the white flags at halftime going, stop. No more running. We give up. I mean, they couldn't stop the run last year. Now you have a Ravens team, which you can tell this year, they're just pissed about everything. So, yes, this is going to be this is an ass whooping. It's going to be that first ass whooping the Cowboys are going to get this year.
So this will be a loss. I don't think they're going to carry the undefeated home record this year like they did last year. I do think that it's going to be a lot closer than an ass whooping. But I do have them going 2-1 through the first 3 as well. I don't think the Cowboys match up well against the Ravens. I do like to say this. As a fan, I'll obviously be rooting for the Cowboys and hoping that they win this game. Realistically and analytically, the Cowboys don't match up well. They don't match up well against the run. They don't have the big bodies they used to. They're going to fill it up with rooks. They're going to fill it up with bodies, but they don't have the talent as they did in previous years. And Derrick Henry didn't even get an offer from the Cowboys. There's going to be a little bit of some spike to the turf there, and you're going to see Baltimore come out. Baltimore starts off against Kansas City in a very big emotional game this year. It's going to be opening up the NFL headlines. They get a cupcake game against Las Vegas, and they come right to Dallas. I don't see them hesitating. The next game they have is Buffalo. When it comes to the Ravens, could they overlook the Cowboys thinking that's the game we're looking at? Maybe. And if you're a fan, maybe you're looking at this game being close. If that spread opens up a lot for Baltimore, we'd have to see. But you got to imagine if the Cowboys are 2-0, they won one at home, they're staying at home, Baltimore's traveling, that spread's probably going to be low if it's favoring Baltimore, something like -2.5. So I would probably stay away from that game. 2-1 is where we start. And we go to our Thursday night Amazon game at New York against those new-looking Giants. I don't ever doubt Dak against the New York Giants. I'm taking the Cowboys on the road on an Amazon-featured game early on in the season. Cowboys get a dub for me. What about you, Chris Connor?
Yeah, I got the Cowboys. I do not trust. I just don't trust Daniel Jones. So they're going to bounce back. So yeah, give me the Cowboys. They bounce back 3-1, and still having good vibes.
You have good vibes. Dallas is beating teams that they should. They're 3-1. Again, our chase here is 9.5, and if that seems plausible in Vegas, Cowboys 3-1 through 4, and right now it seems like we're pretty par for the course. I'm surprised so far. Checking the comments that says this is a game where Lance gets some snaps, game 3 or 4. Chris Connor thinks so. This is that Trey Lance game against the Ravens where he thinks that Dak might sit down when it's 31-0 or something of that nature. But I don't think it's going to be any. I don't think we're going to get any Trey Lance to maybe the end of the year if Dak is out. Sunday night game. So Dallas and Dak get quite a bit of rest here. They end up going 10 days before they end up playing the Steelers on Sunday Night Football on NBC. Really quite awesome. Chris Connor, they have to go against Steel Curtain there. How do you feel Dallas on the road in Pittsburgh with that 10-day rest?
I'm actually going to Cowboys just because, once again, the quarterback, I don't trust. Is Russell Wilson have anything left? Is he cooked? That's just a lot to right now. Until I see Russell Wilson bounce back, I'm going with, once again, the Cowboys have the better quarterback. I'm going with Cowboys here.
Cowboys get my nod as well. And for those of you who are already shaking your head like this is a bias, it's not. I agree. There's quarterback questions there, and there's running back questions there. Who's going to field that backfield? Are they trading away Najee Harris? Is this going to be a year of transition? Does Russell Wilson have the ability to throw outside the hashes? I don't know. And then you have the wonderful Justin Fields there, and what pressure controversy is that? Pittsburgh starts off against Atlanta, and that's going to be a dogfight. They start off in Atlanta. Then they go Denver, which is probably a dub for them. Then they go against the new look Harbaugh Chargers, which is going to be interesting to see how they look this year. And then the Colts, which is a tough game. Then the Cowboys with no extra rest. They go straight Sunday to Sunday. That's a tough gig. And for a Pittsburgh team that's going to be very much mid, that's a tough gig. And so I have the Cowboys, and it looks like we both have the Cowboys at 4-1 in this season, 5 weeks in, nearing the top of the league at that point, and they're going to be talked about a lot. And then it gets tough. It gets tough here. So let's talk out what's next. So the Detroit Lions are next. And I don't think we have to harp too much on this. The Lions have a week 5 bye this year. So not only are the Cowboys going to have a shorter week in recovery time from a Sunday night game, the Lions don't even play the week before. They get a bye week, week 5, and then they get the Cowboys. And they actually go to Dallas to play the Cowboys. So it's even worse. It's a payback game. I have Detroit winning this game and probably winning it pretty handedly, 31-21, something of that nature, barring no other injuries to anybody. How do you see it, Chris Connor?
So right now, at 4-1, you feel pretty good, but I think the Lions are the best team in the NFC. So unfortunately, I see this as another loss, and it's 4-2 going into the bye week. I can't trust the Cowboys, offensive line against Aaron Hutchinson. And I don't trust the Cowboys defense right now as it is against the Lions' high-powered offense.
Yeah, and it gets interesting at this point because Dallas will then be 1-2 at home, undefeated on the road, and it would be a weird flip of the script from last year, which would be probably a lot of headlines, but really it's just a subject of the schedule. Dallas 4-2 going into what is now their break, and Dallas has a week 7 bye. Again, if you're just joining in, 9.5 win total for the Dallas Cowboys. We are at 4-2 going into the bye week, and then we go into Sunday Night Football, so an extra day of rest for them. Sunday Night Football against the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers coming off a game against the Kansas City Chiefs the week before with no extra rest time. That's a primetime game going to primetime game. Dallas goes to San Francisco. Chris Connor, how do you see this game playing out?
And it's another loss for, unfortunately, your Dallas Cowboys. I don't trust them against good teams right now because there's so much turnover. And because, once again, the 49ers, another team that is loaded for bear. This could get ugly. This could be one of those games where it's a blowout. The Cowboys waving a white flag by halftime.
Yeah, so I tend to agree with you on these, but I'm going to split this with you. I'm going to go win for the Cowboys regular season against the Niners because of the schedule, because of the hype going into the season for the Niners, and because this is going to be a bit of a revenge game and a prove-it game for Dak and McCarthy. And if you're a Cowboys fan or you're hoping that they win, they turn it around, this is where we differ. So we're here now. And you're hoping this is a game where they come out, show out off the bye week, and taking advantage of the Niners who don't have as much of a rest period and coming off a big primetime game against the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to take the Cowboys to win that game. I know there's bad blood between San Francisco and Dallas already, so it's enough hype to get San Francisco going. But there are a lot of questions, contract questions too, with some of those receivers in San Francisco. So we have to see what Brock Purdy can do when his weapons are not happy. So that's going to be an interesting game. We split there. I'm going to take the ITL mark. So we're going to say we're 5-2 at this point and continue to chase that 9.5. Chris Connor, though, has us at 4-3. Atlanta is next, the new kids on the block. Atlanta Falcons with Bijan Robinson. Kirk Cousins, we would predict at that point, is still playing there. And the Falcons add another year of experience to everybody else in their starting lineup. And the Falcons will host the Cowboys that weekend. I still think the Cowboys are the better team. I don't say it's a clear outright they're better on all cylinders, but I will say they're still the better team. Even on the road, I take the Cowboys to win this game. Chris Connor, what about you?
I'm actually taking the Cowboys. I just, once again, that's another team in Atlanta. It's like, okay, you were 7-10 last year. In theory, they should be better, and they will, but they haven't proven they can win a big game yet. This is going to be one of those games where everybody's going to be watching a lot of pressure. So give me the Cowboys right now.
Cowboys are 6-2 going into Week 10 against a very favorable at-home matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. Chris Connor, you're going to call this first game. I guess I get the next one against the Eagles. But the Cowboys play at home against the Eagles Week 10. How do you see that on Game of the Week?
Yeah, this is an Eagles game. I'm sorry. This Eagles going to win again. Can you trust Dallas defense right now? I mean, we talked about it on my show. Like, their defensive line couldn't stop any running game. I mean, they could not stop one running game at all last year. Now, once again, the Eagles have retooled. Saquon Barkley is in the backfield. This could be another game where it's just 150 yards rushing for Barkley, another maybe 70 yards for Jalen Hurts, and it's just run all over the Cowboys.
So we are definitely going to differ on this game. I don't bet against the Cowboys at home against the Eagles. If recency has shown us anything, they split home and home quite a bit, especially when the teams are close. I don't think the Eagles got better this offseason. I think similar to the Cowboys, they actually declined. So I'm taking the Cowboys at home. I do think it's a home and home split, so don't be surprised at what my pick is later in the season. But right now, Cowboys are 7-2 going into Week 11 and 5-4 for you. So very different outlooks on what's happening so far, even just 2 games in. And that takes us to Week 11 and what's probably going to be game of the year for most people. And it's Cowboys-Texans, Monday Night Football, the extra break there. And the Texans are actually coming off of a pretty good situation. They got so much better this offseason. The Texans coming into this game would be playing the Jets, Lions, and Cowboys. Oh my, right into that game with no break. And that's a tough schedule. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, presumably Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Then you get Jared Goff and what you say is probably the best team in the NFC, the Lions, and then you go right into Cowboys. And this is in Dallas. Chris Connor, who do you have?
I'm going with Houston Texans. I think, once again, this is a team that is maybe positioning itself as the second or third best team in the AFC, and I think this is a game where, with Joe Mixon, with that balanced passing attack of the Texans, this could be a game where the Cowboys defense gets shredded.
So I am agreeing with you. I actually have a loss in this column, so believe it or not, I can say the Cowboys will lose a game. I think the Texans are just better overall. I'm not going to say that it's going to be a blowout by any means, but I do think that this is going to be a game where it's a bit of a wake-up call where you see what a true contender is in Texas. And I think the Texans are just stacked. You all know that we're a Joe Mixon truther here on this show. We know the analytics point to why Joe Mixon is so good where he was in Cincinnati. Now you get to see him do it in Houston. CJ Proud is going to have an amazing year. I still think he'll have a second-year leap with all that talent already. And I think Dallas and Dak will be in a very interesting situation. For you, Chris Connor, at 5-5 at this point, for me, are they contenders truly? And it would be a no, even at this point with a big win in San Francisco. For me, I still think it would be a no. And that takes us to our division rivals, the Washington Commanders. The Commanders, who are no slouches, who are being led by Dan Quinn this year in Washington, a statement game for Washington. And I have them increasingly getting better this year by a few wins. I analyzed where Washington would be at this point. They would not be far off, even with the Cowboys at 7-3. They would definitely be lockstep at 5-5. But I don't see how the Cowboys win this game on the road in Washington, coming off Monday night and playing an early game Sunday. So I am actually taking Washington in this game, and I do think they split and they lose this game in a game they probably should win. And I'm taking Washington on the road. Chris Connor.
Yeah, I'm taking Dallas Cowboys. Look, this Washington's another team, but you're looking at going, okay, this is it's basically a expansion team with a rookie quarterback, and they're going to start that rookie quarterback right away. So there's going to be some growing pains. There's some lumps. I think this is the year where the Cowboys sweep the Redskins.
Okay, so you think the Cowboys do sweep the Redskins the Commanders this year?
Sorry, the Washington team. We'll call them the Washington football team. You know, people are like, no, Commanders are a stupid name. We got to change that name. So, yes, they're going to beat Washington.
So at this point, we're here, right? I'm at 7-4. You're 6-5. We're not too far off. We're a game off of each other. Going into week 13, back half is not terrible for the Cowboys trying to make the playoffs. And if you're Vegas, 9.5 does not look crazy so far. And we go into week 13. Checking the comments here, looks like Danny has another comment. Watch out, 0-5, weeks 6 through 11. 0-5 for weeks 6 through 11. There's a coach. DC takes over. Out Harris becomes ticket score. Dan says 3-8. Yeah, Dan's not high on the Cowboys this year. He does not want support for the Cowboys, although he's one of the biggest Cowboys fans I know. He's a realist at this point. So,
side note here. This is a side note. I know you're very high on the Cowboys, but this is their defensive tackles. You've got Carl Davis, Mozzie Smith, Justin Rogers, a guy named Denzel Daxon, Chauncey Golston, and Osa Ogazawa. At what point, if you're a Dallas defense coordinator, are you looking at Jerry going, couldn't give me like one good run-stuffing defense tackle? Anybody who can play defense? Anybody? I mean, if you're just going, at what point are you starting to drop F-bombs like, oh, my God, you guys have to suck. You really just have to suck.
Yeah. I mean, basically what he's saying is the defensive coordinator and the defensive line coach is going to go up to Jerry and say,
what team? Your best player thinks he's a pirate.
That's basically what's going to end up happening. But you know what's better than that, Chris Connor?
What?
What's better than that is turkey legs. And we're going to the Thanksgiving game where Dallas hosts the New York Football Giants on Thanksgiving in a game that we can all appreciate. Who do you have in that game for Thanksgiving?
I am going with the Cowboys just because, once again, it's the Giants. I don't think the Giants going to be that good. The Cowboys will win on Turkey Day at home against the Giants.
There we go. If you're following along, we're chasing that 9.5 to see if it's actually plausible. We're being very realistic with this. We have some losses we didn't think we'd have. We have some wins where we didn't think it'd have. I am at 8-4 after Thanksgiving. Chris Connor is at 7-5. Dallas probably on the top half of the NFC at this point. Then they go to the coveted 10-day rest, Monday Night Football primetime game against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals would be coming off their bye week and a game against the Steelers, and then going into this game against the Cowboys. Very interesting matchup. Cincinnati by no means has gotten better in the offseason either. They are one of the teams that are on the decline. Chris Connor, for me, I think this is a game of storylines. I think Dallas is going to have to play very good at home in order to keep Cincinnati from pulling the upset, because I do think Dallas is better than Cincinnati right now on paper. I do think they're better than Cincinnati right now overall. And so I would take Dallas at home in this game. And I don't know if we think the same on that, but non-bias on this, analytically, the numbers favor Dallas by 78%. So I'm going to take Dallas at home prime time and have them take another W week 14. What about you, Chris Connor?
Yeah, I'm going Bengals. I'm sorry. This is the Joe Burrow revenge tour where he's pissed off after getting injured last year too many times. He stays healthy. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase just lighting up that secondary of the Cowboys because the defensive line can't get any pressure. And look, the Bengals are a well-coached team. They know how to put pressure on the quarterback. So, yeah, give me the Bengals. Although there is an asterisk, so we'll put an asterisk here. Does Joe Burrow stay healthy enough for that game? That's a big question.
That's a big question. Yep. Do you keep your receivers in Cincinnati? Do you keep your defensive linemen in Cincinnati? How do you keep everybody happy? That's a big one for me.
Here because, as I said, it's Super Bowl or bust for the Bengals.
But win share percentage follow Joe Mixon to me. And we're ITL truthers here. We're stat truthers here. We're going to chase the analytics. Win share percentage for Joe Mixon was 68%. Where he goes, when he plays, they win. And so if you're going to win 2 out of 3 games when Joe Mixon plays, where does that percentage go? Is Joe Burrow going to carry? And can he? And I guess that's going to be the big part. Case Chris Evans step up. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in Cincinnati. This takes us to your Panthers, Chris Connor. Panthers noon game, going to be a regular game on Fox. Dallas travels to Carolina. I don't think that Carolina matches up still as being one of those teams that really caused chaos, although they had an upset against the Texans last year. I am going to take Dallas in a Sunday noon game that's going to be probably thrown away at this point that Dallas has any chance of contending. Chris Connor, what is it for you?
I'm going Cowboys. I don't trust Carolina to beat very good teams yet. And look, hopefully, the coaching staff can go for the full year and that, Tepper does not fire them 10 games into the season like he did the last head coach. But still, give me the Cowboys.
So you have it right now. We have some Cowboys bias on my side, but I'm 10-4 at this point. I've blown past the 9.5 by a half game at this point with still some games left to play. You're at 8-6. You're 2 games out from beating the Vegas 9.5 money line. Let's take a look at what's next, and it's Tampa Bay, who are very good. It is a featured Sunday night game. It'll be at home in Dallas, where they'll play against Mike Evans and not Johnny Baker Mayfield, not Johnny Football, and that resurging team. This is going to be actually a very comparable game. I actually have Tampa and Dallas on the same level. I think they are a same level team. I think Dallas has more talent on paper, but they don't perform in clutch situations. And I think Tampa has less talent on paper, but they play above their heads. And maybe it's a coaching thing. Maybe it's just a culture thing. I actually have them same playing field. Analytically, it's a 51% favorite for Dallas in this game, given that Tampa Bay's easier schedule the latter half has them a little bit more rested. Where are you going with this one, Chris Connor?
I'm going with Cowboys against Tampa Bay. I got to see Tampa Bay do it for at least 2 seasons. And look, it was last year just an aberration for Baker Mayfield is playing for a contract. Is this the real Baker Mayfield? Is it not? We'll find out. And at home, Dallas is a whole different beast. So give me the Cowboys on December 22nd.
At this point, though, for me, Dallas is 11-4. They're nearing the top of the conference, but just because they're beating teams that they should and not really beating teams that they shouldn't, other than the Niners this year. And it comes down to 2 very exclusive games, which, again, you already know where I'm leaning. Cowboys end up going to Philly, and I think Philly, with their schedule, they need this win, and they must carry this win in order to compete still in the division and for playoffs. I think a very desperate and scrappy Eagles team at that point takes that dub against the Cowboys at home, and I'm not blinking twice about it. What about you, Chris Connor?
I'm going fly, Eagles, fly. It's in Philadelphia. It is a game where, once again, Cowboys can't stop the run, and when you have Saquon Barkley again in Philly, and we have all the offensive potential in Philly, yeah, this could get ugly. This is going to be one of those games where there's fights in the stands, snowballs being thrown, and this could be another game where the Cowboys get blown out.
It very well could be. Now, I've seen crazier stuff. I've seen crazier things. Now, which Jalen Hurts are we getting this year is going to be interesting in Philly. We had one very good season from Jalen Hurts and 2 half seasons. I need to see another full season to make sure he's the real deal for me in Philly, and that's taking my Cowboys bias out. I just got to see it. And if you're a Cowboys fan, you're hoping you do hand that L for them going into the new year. That takes us to the final game of the season, and poetically, it is against Dan Quinn and the Washington team. That's a TBD date and time because of playoff implications and where the Cowboys and Commanders are going to be ranking. For me, Chris Connor, Dallas at home against Washington in the Dak Prescott era is a default win, and it's going to continue that way. It'll be revenge for that Week 12 loss. I know you had them winning that game, but it's a revenge game for me. Now, if Dallas is solidified at 11-5 with a playoff spot and they're going to rest everybody, I would be wrong, right? They would lose. If they need the win or they have to keep the win for the division, that's a win for me. Dallas finishes 12-5 for me. Chris Connor, how do they finish for you?
Yeah, they finished 10-7 for me, and they pull it off against Washington. As I said, they get lucky, but they're going to get 4 wins at least in the NFC East, thanks to Washington with Giants. But yeah, it's going to be a tough season, I think, for the Cowboys because you're really just not sure about that defense.
I agree. A lot of turnover on the defense, a lot of ins and outs. We'll see what Eric Kendricks can do in this new established defense. Very familiar coach, right? They've paired together in Minnesota and worked that defense. I don't think they're going to be bad. I think the defense is going to be above average, top 14. I don't worry about the offense regular season. I think the offense will be great. Zeke and Dak together, it'll be good vibes. I think the problem with the Dallas Cowboys at this point is even at 12-5, even at 10-7, you're a playoff team. And you're going to go to the playoffs again, and the pressure is all back on you all over again on that you have to perform. You have to get that contract if you're Dak. You have to get that contract if you're Mike McCarthy. This is it. And what does Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys do when their backs are against the wall and there's no tomorrow? And maybe that's the message Jerry is sending to this situational Cowboys team. But to answer our question on 9.5 for the Vegas side, here it is. Chris Conner has you sweating until week 18, and then you get it. For me, you were solidified around week 15, and you feel good about yourself. So I would pound the over on the win-loss percentage there at 9.5. If it dips to 9, even better. Get you some more, or 8.5. Get you some more love right there and go ahead and boost it over. I am very high. This Cowboy schedule actually favors them a little bit schedule-wise, rest-wise. There's 3 10-day periods for the Cowboys this year. That's a lot of rest for a team that is not very deep and didn't have a lot of money to work with this offseason. So the Cowboys could be attracting talent towards the end. They'll be facing teams like the Lions and Texans and Niners and the regular ones, Ravens and Eagles, who will be attracting talent as well. But I think from a Cowboys perspective, the schedule is favorable in rest and which teams you're facing on the road and at home. But you're right. A lot of these are very 50-50 wishy-washy because you're not sure which team shows up. Chris Conner, any last-minute thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys this season?
No, it's going to come down to the wire vote. This is a team, as you said, a lot of their offensive line, defensive line, tons of questions. You know, what happens when there gets injuries? You know, as you said, Dak is playing for his next paycheck. Mike McCarthy is playing for basically his coaching career. So, yeah, it's how they handle pressure.
Well, there you have it on ITL. We dissected it. Chris Conner, everybody, with the Last Call podcast. Chris, tell the people where they can find your content.
You can check me out at thelastcallpodcast.com. It's also on Twitter, on Last Call Chris C, Instagram, and on Facebook. And once again, we have Price Carter of Arrowhead Addict, who we're going to talk Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to talk also their free agency. And tomorrow, or this Saturday, we sit down with Amir Abdallah, who is part of a whole Saudi boxing commission. Also, was Mike Tyson's. Trust me, you got to check out this interview because we ask everything from why the fights are happening, sports washing. It's going to be some. Punches will not be pulled, and we will not be taking any dives. So check it out. LastCallPodcast.com. And Ernest, always a pleasure to be on the show.
Absolutely, brother. Go check out his content, Last Call Podcast. We've been on there a couple of times. Hope you guys have followed and given him some likes, listens, and views. I'm your host, Ernest Docky Silva. Look for another short episode around the Houston Texans schedule, and let's talk some Brady this weekend. I think we're all about it. Chris Conner and I are going to dabble in that, and then all about NBA episode. Kenny Cotterill and I are going to do an NBA episode talking about the playoffs and NBA draft lottery situations, not to mention some big guests coming this summer when it comes to prospects coming up the rankings. One of them just committed to the UConn Huskies. It's very exciting stuff. I am your host, Ernest Docky Silva, at the Into the Lab movie studio in San Antonio, Texas. Thank you guys for joining today. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend and hope your NBA teams win and your NHL teams. Good luck, Mark.